I'm going to bring this meeting to order of the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board. We're convening today, Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. We're here in room 2400, Venture Oaks Way, room 400, Sacramento, California. We're conducting the meeting today live and also via Zoom video. We are now in open session, and the board will accept public comment on any agenda item or any other matter under our jurisdiction. Speakers are asked to limit their testimony to approximately 5 minutes on each agenda item and any other matter under its jurisdiction not listed on the agenda. The order of this agenda may be changed to accommodate the board or the public. With that, I'll begin roll call. Michael Allen, Chair, present.
Laura Kent-Monning, present.
Michael Ling, present.
Robert Wachowski, present.
Richard Roth, present.
Terrific. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our July 16th, 2025 meeting. So I'll take a motion to approve those minutes. I'll make it to approve.
I'm abstaining. I was not here last month.
So moved? Did you move?
I moved.
Second?
Yes.
Yeah, I approve.
Okay, so so
Aye.
we have 4 votes in favor with one abstention, and we missed you.
Thank you.
With the approval of the minutes, we'll go on to my report. This last month, the board closed over 998 cases with the California Appeals Management System, and of those, 986 were done under CAMS, and we did 7 legacy cases as well. And we're making great progress toward reducing our caseloads, and it's a time where hopefully we're not going to have any other public emergencies come forward as we've had in the past that have had a dramatic effect on our caseload. The only other thing I'd like to say, which I a lot of times mention in these meetings, is my deep appreciation for the entire staff of the CUIAB, whether it be our judges, management, my fellow board members, the support staff who make sure that we are on the straight and narrow and get things done. But just an appreciation that I believe that we're doing a very good job of taking care of the business of the people of California. And as I've mentioned in the past, I feel honored to be really working with an agency that really is essentially a legacy of the New Deal that came out of the 1930s and the Great Depression, with the idea that people who are unemployed due to no fault to their own, there should be a safety net. And so we're very lucky to be able to be here to provide for that kind of safety net for the public and the people of California. With that, I'll turn to my board members and ask for their reports.
Thank you, Chair Allen. Just a commendation to everyone in the field looking at the numbers for July. And, I always think back to 2020 when I started, but the case aging out of the field is now 31.1 days, and the Department of Labor standard is 30 days or less. So that is just incredible, and I hope that everyone feels proud of that accomplishment. And it's nice to see that we're back in this place and able to meet those DOL standards. So just commending everyone's work in the field, especially looking at those July numbers.
Member Ring?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing specific to report, but I did want to make a comment about what was observed previously, that in the transition from the legacy to the CAMS cases, we became aware of the mountain of staff support that we receive, identified by names and work product. And this was, maybe it was visible under legacy, but I didn't see it. And I want to thank Judge Bach for bringing by one of the people that has joined the team fairly recently. I had a chance to meet her, and maybe others had a chance to meet her, and really a deep appreciation for the fact that when we sit here, there's not too many people in the room, but we stand on the shoulders of hundreds of people, including the EDD, that have gone through the cases, and when we receive them, we receive the prime rib of cases, which is a result of all the work products. So thank you for bringing that person by, and if she's here, good luck and welcome aboard.
Member Wachowski?
I have no report and nothing to add.
Member Roth?
No report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, with no further reports, we're now on the part of the agenda for public comment. Is there any public comment?
Chair Allen, I have no hands raised for public comment at this time.
Okay, we have no public comment, but for the record, I will let the board know and the public that we did receive a written public comment, and that'll be placed in the record. With that, we're going to go to the report of our Executive Director and Chief Judge, Judge Kutry, for an update on the agency.
Good morning, Chair Allen and board members. Thank you, Vice Chair Camp-Monning, for recognizing the huge gains that have been made in the field offices with regard to timeliness. I'll give you a little background on that, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the numbers. Our daily appeal intake from EDD in July remained at a level that we've been accustomed to for almost 2 years now, which is right around what we were receiving in 2020 before the pandemic arrived. The field offices issued almost 23,000 decisions in July. It was a modest reduction from June. And because of that reduction, the overall inventory grew slightly in July, which is the first time that's happened in a while. But both of those trends were predicted. July is usually our highest level of staff leave of the year, so we expect that to rebound shortly. Nonetheless, our average case age reduced significantly in June. We went from 38 days to 31 days. And as Vice Chair Camp-Monning noted, 30 days is the U.S. Department of Labor guideline for that. So we have not accomplished that 30-day task since September of 2020. So with any luck, we'll achieve it in September of 2025, but it is a hard thing to reach. So I'll report back next month how close we are to that goal. You'll also note in the field operations time-lapse numbers. We haven't spent a lot of time on those numbers in the last couple of years because they were so out of reach, but that's not so true anymore. I'll remind you that 60% of appeals are to be closed within 30 days and 80% of appeals within 45 days. We doubled the 30-day percentage from 12% to 24% in 1 month and increased the 45-day percentage by 14 points from 55% to 69%. Both measures obviously drastically improved. So while the appeal volumes are relatively low, the field continues to do everything it can to improve on all of these measures, and you're seeing those results now. Our target obviously is full Department of Labor compliance, and while appeals are low, we hope to get there. We don't know what the future will hold with regard to our workload, so we work as fast as we can now to make gains. So I would like to thank all of the field offices for their attention to this. They've essentially been pedal to the metal for 5 years to try to get to the spot where we are here today. So I hope to have more good news for the board in the coming months as those realistic dates start to crystallize. I don't have any new security issues to report, so that will conclude my report for this month, and I'm happy to take any questions.
I'll turn it over to the Vice Chair. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. No questions.
Member Ring?
Yeah, thank you, and kudos on the performance numbers and to those whose hard work went into those numbers becoming possible. I noticed I had to keep my jacket on when I arrived in Sacramento this morning, so I know that the cooler weather is coming in the end of the year with that. Chief Kutry, what are the big ticket item goals that we hope to accomplish before the end of the year?
With regard to timeliness, we measure our timeliness in March of every year. That's the Department of Labor calendar year, or measurement year. So with an eye towards that, we will continue to try to improve each of these numbers each month because you can't get there at the end. It's a progressive effort. With regard to other operational issues, we still have Office of Tax Petitions, which is not yet in CAMS. So that is a huge one that we're trying to get there. Unlike the rollouts to our 11 field offices, the Office of Tax Petitions interfaces with EDD. So it's not just a solo effort that we can accomplish on our own. We need their cooperation to do some things. That's underway, and we hope to have that done by the end of the year as well.
So just to follow up, so the non-tax legacy cases will no longer exist by the end of the year? Is that what I hear?
They should be done now.
Now,
We call those
okay.
benefits cases. Unemployment,
Okay.
disability, paid family leave. Tax is a different category. So we still have a small number of tax cases at Board Appeals status, very small. And our CIO will talk a little bit about that effort to get those in. But otherwise, once Office of Tax Petitions goes in, we would be finished with all all of our different units in terms of CAMS rollouts.
Okay, thank you for that optimistic projection. I'm sure we're going to get there. One final question, if you will, Mr. Chair. In
Of course.
my area of Southern California, you may have heard of the horrific Eaton and Palisades wildfires, which now parallel a lot of the other tragic disasters in other parts of the state. Now that we have a few months to look back on these two, from my knowledge, the area that I get the most feedback on, what have been the impact of the claims, of our claims been in with regards to those, to the Eden fire and the Palisades fires?
Against the backdrop of our overall claim numbers, there's not been a substantial increase. So we're able to accommodate all of those increased appeals. There haven't been many appeals. I can get you an exact number if you'd like between meetings. But we're talking about a couple hundred a month as opposed to the usual tens of thousands a month that we get every month. So we've been able to absorb all of that work readily.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure the claimants appreciate the processing of that. I have no further questions.
Member Wachowski.
I would just like to publicly express my enthusiasm and happiness with meeting or getting close to the federal standards and on the field level. It's my love for statistics is just it brings me great warmth. With that said, I know that we get the handouts of how each of the offices are going, and I'm going back to the PUA cases, the pandemic unemployment rate or unemployment assistance. And it's interesting how some of the field offices are taking longer to process particular step-by-step elements, where in the other normal UI cases and normal DI cases, they go in. I guess it's a curiosity, I'll just pull it out. Oxnard takes 40 days to schedule from the scheduled date to the hearing date on their PUA cases, but their normal cases are in compliance with the 20-day average that we have with that. And likewise, Orange County, the creation is much longer of a PUA case than, and I was just curious, I guess, why. I know those are going away too. I'll just say that, but why is that?
Yeah, fortunately, it's a tiny body of cases relative to our overall workload, about 1%. There's a variety of factors that go into that. We move a lot of cases still. So, for example, we moved about 2,000 cases last month. And so when certain cases start to get old, we can move them. We also move them to have them registered as well. So we have the PUA cases that are left in our inventory are by and large overpayments. They're more complex registrations than our regular unemployment insurance cases. So oftentimes we'll have a pool of technicians who register those cases in one office and then move them for hearing. So a lot of that delay looks like it's attributed to one office, but it's really a function of having the work spread out and then consolidated for the hearing.
That's
But the overall case aging for those cases ends up being about on par with all of our UI cases.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's only 66 cases. It's a tiny, tiny bit, but I was curious about lessons that we would have learned or how that is improved in going forward with our cases as we strive to meet those federal standards.
Yeah, so our efforts now is to clean all those things up around the edges and make sure they operate as efficiently as possible. But I can say that by and large, all of our cases are proceeding remarkably quickly right now. And that's reflected in our average case age of almost 30 days.
No other questions, just a comment on the appellate level. Getting to closing 98.9% of our cases within 80 days is quite close to 100%. So, I look forward to that one target month where everything comes in, it gets done. So I have no further comments, Mr. Chair.
Member Roth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we're all appreciative of the pedal to the metal approach at the field office level to try to meet these standards and the work and probably sacrifice that requires both by our judges and the staff that support them. I'm just wondering if you expect that to normalize at some point, and as we do hit or perhaps even beat the US DOL standards, do you expect that level of effort, pedal to the metal, to continue to be required in order to maintain? And if so, should we be considering augmentation of staff to make life perhaps a little bit more bearable?
The answer is yes. We are constantly evaluating the production levels to meet our goals. And so in a normal year, let's take the pandemic out of it, you might have a couple times a year when you try to accelerate production to meet certain deadlines. For example, the average case age is measured every March 30th for us. And so you might have a focus and ask the offices to be especially diligent in closing every older case every day and don't leave anything for the next day. I mean, that's a tiny margin to be working with, but that's what we do. So right now, we're basically staying the course. We've done remarkably well this year in terms of catching up and completely eliminating our pandemic backlog, but we'll continue to tweak accordingly, slow down, speed up a little bit as things happen. And if the unpredictable happens and the unemployment rate in California rises dramatically, certainly we won't be letting up. So we're kind of waiting to see how that shakes out.
I get it. Well, thank you. Thanks for the response and thanks for the effort. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. It occurs to me that at least in my 12, 13 years here is that abnormal has been the normal. Is that essentially many years it took to deal with the caseload coming out of the Great Recession. And then with the whole pandemic issue, we were dealing with law freshly drafted from Congress coming at us, trying to learn a whole new field while it was being made up in Congress and being in real time, and it was an incredible challenge. So, I guess what I'm saying is abnormal has been the most common state of for this agency over the last few years, and I would like that other kind of normality if at all possible. So we'll see. But thank you for your information and comments, Judge Kutry. With that, I'll turn to Judge Bach, who is our supervising administrative law judge for appellate operations, for an update on the appellate workload.
Good morning. I have a brief presentation. Wanted to go over some of the Department of Labor numbers. In order to meet the Department of Labor guidelines, we're to close 50% of our cases within 45 days and 80% of our cases within 75 days. As for the 45-day date, we're at a Department of Labor year rate currently at 47.7, so close to that 50. And given the summer months, think that's we're going to see improvement in the future. And as far as the closing 80% of our cases in 75 days, as Member Wojciechowski already pointed, last month we closed 98.9% of our cases within 75 days, bringing our total to 95.8 and still chasing that elusive 100. The Department of Labor guidelines is also that we are to have a case age average of 40 days. We are currently at 32.2, so well within that guideline. And other than that, I would be happy to take any questions.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. No questions. Thank you for the report.
Member Ring.
No questions, but kudos on the great work and the data. Thank you.
Member Wojciechowski.
I have no questions on the Rosie report.
Member Roth.
Questions?
No, and just a big thank you for your very good work, as always. So with that, we're going to turn to our Chief Information Officer. John, take it away.
Thank you, board members. And as shared in last month's meeting, we successfully deployed a major release in June with over a dozen enhancements and completing the transition for AO benefits cases from the legacy system to CAMS. So now our focus is on migrating AO tax to CAMS, and so we're evaluating some of the gaps so we can provide a better estimate of that timeline. We're adding more developers with expertise in the technology that powers CAMS, which is Salesforce. So those positions have been posted, and we're expecting to review applications next week. So with that, with the extra help, it'll help us in working on more enhancements and migrations for that's on our priority. And that's all I have for the technology report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, just so from my understanding, when you said gaps, what are you referring to exactly?
I believe, Becky?
So like we use some slightly different letters and things like that in the tax cases than we would in a UI case. And so we're just making sure all of those steps run smoothly. And we've been testing and we've been working really well with IT. I think we're getting close. And so I would expect it, I don't know exactly when, but shortly, a good working relationship on that. And we want it working perfectly when it comes to you.
I like that. That sounds good. Okay. I'll turn to Vice Chair Kent Monty.
Thank you. This might be the same question that Chair Allen had, but I thought you said now we're working on AO text to CAM. Is it
Tax.
Tax. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
I just have a question, and I asked your predecessor this. We, of course, have gone through the transition from legacy to CAMs, and now almost all CAMs except for the tax cases. Have you observed any comments by either advocates or users as to how we can improve the system? In any kind of consumer-oriented system, like if I go online and I want to get my phone bill, within seconds, it'll come back with a little bit of a survey saying, how did we do? How were you treated? What is your assessment of how we are accessible to people that perhaps feel challenged by using the system? And is that compiled? Where can we find that? And how are we improving?
I don't have any information on that right now. I'll have to get back on that. I don't know if some reasons.
I do. So, for example, we engage with a significant size of advocates, and we do that quarterly or twice a year at least. And they gave us a lot of feedback on their experience. They're considered a heavy user. So they have many clients using the portal. They were delighted with the portal's release because they can get access to documents in real time instead of having their clients produce them and mail them to them. They had a list of suggested enhancements after using the system for a couple of years, and we were able to incorporate many of those in the last release that occurred under Mr. Camphead's watch. So we continue to engage those groups because it's a work in progress. We acknowledge that. We are continually targeting enhancements that we get input from our field offices from parties. And then we also have the FAQ page. We have a comment prompt for people to submit comments about their experience with the portal and CUIAB. And so if you visit the frequently asked questions page on the homepage for CAMs and the homepage for our website, you'll see that those offerings grow, and that's based on feedback that we're receiving from the parties. So I hope that answers your question, but we take input from a variety of sources.
The only reason I ask that is because as a board member, I don't know if this is shared, I'm sure it is, that our experience with CAMs has greatly improved. We have access to instantaneous requests for assistance, and I just wanted to make sure that the stakeholders, the people that use the system, have access to the same type of assistance if they need it. Sounds like they do. And also that we are mindful, particularly of, say, language issues that come up, that where people can't access it, technological issues. And hopefully, we are moving in sync to that, the better system, the best possible practice.
That's our goal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Ring. Member Wachowski.
Director Campweb, help me better understand the migration that the tech folks are going to be doing. We get our tax rulings at the field level are divided into 3 tranches. We have Program 19, which is one tranche by its own, and then we have 15, 17, 18, 32, 42, 46, 48, 49 in another tranche, and then 9, 13, 14, 21, 22, 40, 44, 50 in a third tranche. And they have, between 10,000 cases, 5,000 cases in each of these. Are you addressing a grouping of, let's just say, the 15 to 49 first? I mean, how are you going about the migration? Are you looking at the type of tax case that it is?
I have to get back on that one.
When it comes to program codes, let me explain.
I thought
A lot of those program codes are already in CAMs.
aha.
So the largest group of those, I don't have all those program codes memorized, but the 9 through 50
Right.
section, those are already in CAMs.
Okay, so
Those
that's
are UI rulings, so they start in CAMs.
so that's the balance of almost 10,000 cases. So those are in versus the, let's say, Code 19, which is half that, and the other tranche is those two together. So majority of them are there.
So we're looking at bringing the relatively smaller groups into CAMs. They're currently in legacy right now. And so those are heard at a different pace, by and large, from UI cases. And so once those, they're already, taxes has totally different processes than the field. And so the migration of those files is a lot easier, but it does require that second step of coordinating with EDD. For example, we receive the petitions directly instead of getting the appeal from EDD in a UI case. So there's an extra step of building that we need to do. But out of all those program codes you mentioned, more than half of those cases are already live in CAMs.
Right, because when you get to the appellate level, when we haven't had a Program 19 case in 5 years, right? But then we've got only the balance of cases in the let's call it the 9 through 50, the bulk of the 10,000 cases. We only have 13 balance of cases that are there. So it's really, I guess the question would be, this is for the benefit of the field operations, migrating to CAMs. I mean, for efficiency, because 13 cases.
I think two concepts are being discussed at the same time. The one is you have 13 existing tax board appeals in legacy. We'd like you to be able to hear those in CAMs so that you don't have to switch back and forth. And then we'd also like to get all new board appeals coming from CAMs already. They're already living in CAMs at the tax office, and so they'll all flow through CAMs for their whole life.
Okay.
Those are the two concepts.
Thank you. That's the clarification, because I was getting, in my slow way, getting to all the new cases coming in would be into CAMs, but then we're converting the small but important balance of legacy cases. So that migration, okay, so what's your priority, Director CUIAB? Is the priority on the new cases coming in or the existing cases and legacy being converted?
Priorities based off of the executive.
At my direction, we're exploring the current inventory of tax appeals and what the burden of migrating those into legacy would look like for the ease of use by the board. And then we are certainly prioritizing the overall migration into CAMs of the whole tax office. So the smaller bundle of cases would be, if it's relatively easy thing to do, we would like to do that first so that you all don't have to switch between two systems.
Thank you for that tax decision update.
Well, we'll leave the weeds and the tranches and now go to Member Roth.
Just two questions. Let me ask the first one. Yeah, I was looking at a case file the other day, and there was a letter from a law firm that said we represent this claimant in the process. And by the way, we'd like a copy of the file and request additional time to respond. What's the process in CAMS for a lawyer or a law firm that's joining the affray to gain access to the documents? Because presumably they're all in CAMS. Does the law firm automatically have the ability to go onto the portal and pull down documents?
They can become a portal user and pull down the documents, or if their client is already a portal user, they'll have access to the digitized documents.
Okay, so the letter was sort of unnecessary, presumably.
It may have been a formality. There may be a letter they generate in every case where they take representation. And so generally, we would offer them, our initial outgoing letter to a party offers those options, but if they're new, typically somebody would call them and say, here are your options to get you the file. We can mail it to you.
I thought it was sort of odd.
Can mail it to you, but if you'd prefer to get it right now, you can become a portal user. We'll add you as a portal user and a representative for the party, and you'll be able to download it immediately.
My second question goes to sort of reminders for participants of our various deadlines, such as hearing dates and appeal deadlines, and I've talked about it briefly in this forum before. And I know it's a question of funding, and it's a question of staffing, and it's a question of Salesforce capability and all that. But if you put all of that aside, I'm wondering if we could put together a small group of staff, knowledgeable staff, to determine what reminders would be appropriate and most helpful to people to receive, assuming we could set up through Salesforce a text reminder system or something else, so that at least we have a list of wants if it becomes possible to take that to the next level.
That is an item on our enhancement list
is.
that we're working together on. So we're not waiting for it to be the only issue left. We're trying to work on, we're hiring 2 Salesforce developers, which Mr. Campwood alluded to. And so hopefully we can get more bandwidth to accomplish the internal tasks that we would like to have programmed in CAMS, as opposed to waiting until we have more resources. So
And then the developers would work with senior staff to figure out what would be most helpful to be part of the reminder
we would dictate
process.
priorities and the needs, and then Mr. Campwood's staff would implement those.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great questions from the board. The next item is we have a report from our Chief Administrative Services Officer. With Bobby Silva, we had to get a waiver of child labor laws to hire him initially many years ago. And I'm proud that he's been with us ever since. So please take it away.
Thank you for that compliment. Okay. Good morning. We'll start with a recruitment update. Things do continue to be somewhat quiet on the hiring front. We were able to hire 2 new support staff employees since the last board meeting, one in appellate operations and another that will start in our inland office this coming week. However, these have been counterbalanced by the announced retirement of 1 field staff member and the transfer of another member to a different agency. We currently have 9 recruitments pending, which does include a bilingual Spanish position for appellate operations. I did report during last month's board meeting that the Bay Area office is continuing to have difficulty hiring entry-level support staff positions. Not being able to hire any office technicians, the recruitment periods for those positions have now expired. They still have pending recruitments for seasonal clerks, with the hope that they can at least get part-time employees in to help them that can work 1,500 hours within a 12-month period. If they're successful in going that route, then they would hope that they could gain the experience in the office to then in the future compete for a full-time position in the office assistant or office technician classification in that office. We still have a handful of limited term appointments here at CUIAB, and we continue to address the extensions or conversions of those positions as they approach their 12-month appointment dates. Again, I wanted to reiterate that we're continuing to monitor the workload, and we're currently not really in the position of expanding staff. We're just sustaining needed staffing as we experience attrition. On the subject of staffing and attrition, the board has inquired in the past about our staff retention rates. So we just concluded the 24-25 state fiscal year, and we ran the reports, and we had a retention rate last fiscal year of 86%. This percentage is consistent with recent fiscal years, and actually the average retention rate over the last 6 years is 86% as well. So very consistent over the last 6 years. At the beginning of August, purchasing opened up for state fiscal year 25-26. So with that, we reached out to management statewide to let them know they could start purchasing essential office supplies. Also, during the last board meeting, I reported that we hadn't yet received our internal categorized budget ceilings from the EDD's Fiscal Programs Division. We conveniently just received them an hour ago. Inconveniently received them an hour ago. We haven't had time to really dig into the specifics, but the end result is that it all rolls up into a position authority of 567.9 positions for this fiscal year and $107 million. I mean, this is all public information that's in the governor's June budget, which is on the Department of Finance website. And this level of budget, as we're in the fiscal year, is more than adequate for our staffing and workload, but it also provides us the room for growth in the event of an economic situation. The documents that we just received an hour ago are really the in-the-weeds documents about operating expense, program codes, expense codes, salaries, benefits, how we're funded from disability insurance, unemployment insurance, et cetera. So we really needed all that information before we could present the board with the budget. So now that we have it, not September's meeting, I will go ahead and present that budget to the board for adoption. And until that point, we're holding off on large ticket purchasing until we hopefully receive the blessing next month from the board to proceed with the proposed budget. That's my report.
I have one question, and also thank you for being patient with me. I really do appreciate your long-term service to this organization. It's truly, you've been here for, how many years have you been with the organization now?
35 years, actually.
Okay, all right. All right. So my question for you is with our 86% retention rate, how does that compare to the rest of the state in terms of other agencies?
I don't know. As we speak here, I don't know. I can obviously research that.
Could you let me know, or if you get an answer, maybe send it to me and the other board members?
Okay.
I'm just curious to see how we stack up versus other agencies.
And I will say, as an aside, I probably should have mentioned it, but the retention rates that are lower than that 86% average are really with the seasonal clerk, office technician, and office assistant. Understandably, those
Right.
classifications, because they're new to the state and they typically quickly promote or transfer.
That makes sense. Thank you. So I'll turn it over to Vice Chair.
Thank you. No questions. Thank you for that detailed report. And it seems impressive that our retention rate has been so consistent for 6 years. I think that speaks well of how everyone is doing here, and seems like a good place to work. So, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
Exactly.
Remembering.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chief Soldo. When I visited my limited visits to the field officers, always a concern about adequate staffing. How many staff positions would you say are we down at this point?
Down.
Meaning that we have not been able to fill that we need?
Really, the only gap is the aforementioned Bay Area situation where
I see.
I think it's really because of the cost of living in the Bay Area. In the Oakland area, it's difficult for us to find people who want to work at that particular level. Everywhere else, we've been able to quickly fill positions when attritions happen. We have had some situations where the recruitments have expired, but that's by choice of the manager of the particular office because of the specific workload changes that have happened from the time they recruit to the time that maybe they don't necessarily need to fill that position. But we've had very little problem, other than that Bay Area issue, filling positions.
Okay, so we're adequately staffed in the other areas.
Yes.
My last question is, I know there's a budget trailer bill coming up next month. Is there anything that is relevant to our agency in that budget trailer bill?
I don't believe there is. I haven't looked, but I don't think there's anything that pertains to us, but obviously we'll look.
In other words, we're formulating our budget projections based on what has been already actually approved so far without any future appropriations or bills left to fund us. We have a complete budget that we can count on without any contingencies. Is that correct?
That's correct, other than the only contingency being with the upcoming October revise, if there's a revision that impacts us for the current fiscal year. But we're not there yet. We don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
No questions.
Borkowski, no questions? Member Roth?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a quick one. So we're not the only agency with employees in the Oakland, in the Bay Area. Are other agencies experiencing the same level with respect to recruitment and retention at the lower wage scales, I guess?
I honestly don't know. I could reach out to the people I know, at least within the Labor Workforce Development Agency, to see if they've experienced something similar.
I'm just curious as to why we are having difficulty. Is it our overall wage and benefit schedule, and these positions are toward the bottom of the schedule? And if so,
And they are statewide classifications, so we don't have any ability to change the wage, nor do we have, in all candor, the ability to change the parking cost in downtown Oakland. There's something to consider there.
and the parking reimbursement would be covered by an MOU if there is any?
Yeah, there's no, the state does not reimburse parking for employees. So it's
Regardless of what you negotiate or don't in an MOU?
Well, I
Is
mean,
that
if
a pro-
they did in the MOU, but that would be the SEIU MOU, which is the largest union
Right.
in the state. So I mean, they haven't thus far negotiated a reimbursement for parking.
And so if we can't fill, if it's a technician position and it's at the bottom of our workforce, and we can't fill it, but it's a needed skill, is there an ability to reclassify the position into a higher pay grade?
We can't do that because there's no higher pay grade for which the duty statement is appropriate for the work, if you're following. And we just, once you go to a higher pay grade, you get into classifications that follow the ladder toward the analyst classification, and the work that's required of these positions simply doesn't rise to that level.
Well, I don't want to belabor it. It's just an interesting issue that apparently doesn't have a resolution. So we'll sort of monitor it.
We will.
I'm sure the cost of living is not going down in the Bay Area anytime soon,
I'm confident.
nor the cost of parking.
But I will say, related, we have had several offices over the last 5 years who have hired seasonal clerks, which is what the Bay Area is trying to do right now, and they have eventually been able to, it's not a transition into an office assistant or office technician, but because of the experience gained on the job, they're able to better compete for a full-time position. So hopefully that can happen in the Bay Area.
Thank you for working the issue. We have the best and brightest working on it, so if it's solvable, you'll do it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Member Roth. With that, I'll turn to our board counsel and ask, do we have any matters for a closed session today?
Thank you, Chair Allen. Yes, the board has a case for closed session deliberations.
Great. Well, with that, then we'll recess this meeting and move to closed session. So we'll take a brief recess.
Okay, so as soon as I turn the audio and the video on, we'll be ready to go. Video's on. Audio's on. It's all yours, Chair Allen.
Yes, we're coming out of a closed session to open session. No action was taken during the closed session, and I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.